So, from your experiences, what would you say? How would you prevent yourself from going through barber burnout at this point in your life?
Um, well, I can't speak for everybody else, but I would say for me, at least, I have to first acknowledge when it's happening and recognize it before it goes into full effect. And then to
Wait, that was deep, bro. How do you recognize it? Welcome to another episode of the Elevated Barbers Podcast. My name is Bradford Kelly. I'm the owner of Another Level of Barber, and I am here with my best barber friend, Delmar. Introduce yourself.
what's going on, people? This is Delmar, as known as the Prince. And I'm looking forward to this second episode, man. We got some great reviews already on
Oh, tell the
episode one.
people.
So
Can you
yeah, I
tell me?
think we should go ahead and kick it off and read the comments. So I won't read the names, but one person stated, I really enjoyed this. So many great takeaways that were applicable to many career paths. Y'all don't laugh at how I say applicable. I know I talk bad. I'm in
You don't
Louisiana.
talk bad, man.
I don't talk
That,
bad.
nah, that was good. Applicable
Okay.
was right.
Yeah, I tried to take my time and pronounce it right.
That's good, man. Sounded like you read hooked on phonics, or you like you solid.
Your baby can read. But the second comment was a big congrats on the podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I am not a barber, but you two provided some great tips on entrepreneurship as a whole. Job well done. By the way, the burnt chicken and chip story was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious too, even to this day,
Yeah. Yeah,
almost
it's
20
it's
years
it's
later.
still funny to both of us
Yeah.
every time Delmar tells that story. But that's really good feedback, man, from the YouTube community and from wherever you got those comments from. Was that YouTube as well as IG or what?
The first one that I read was on IG. The second one, I'm sorry, this first one was on YouTube. The second one was on IG.
All right, cool, man. And so you guys can tell that we are getting comments, and you can tell that we actually look at the comments. So when I say we look at the comments, I mean Delmar. Delmar looks at the comments.
Yeah, all
I
comments are welcome. We like your feedback because we need to know
Yeah.
what we can improve upon, as well as your takes from each episode. And yeah, I mean, we in this community together, so we're open to all comments. Keep it professional though. No crazy
Oh yeah,
comments.
yeah. Don't get
You know,
wild in the comment section.
yeah, we won't have to
Become
block
a
nobody. Mutombo,
no.
not in my house.
But nah, and it's just a good representation of the community that we're trying to build, making sure that we're speaking on topics that are related to barbers, but it's not stuck to being a barber. You
Right.
can be of any industry and any background and find value in what we provide in regards to some of the conversations that we have. So we're not just speaking to barbers,
Right.
but we are barbers, and when this is the platform that we use to speak to people about business that are trying to think higher about themselves, think higher about their business, and just grow.
Yep. And remember, focus. I got it right this time. The first episode, I was way over here. I got it right this time.
Yeah, man.
That's
Everybody
that hand-eye
focus.
coordination.
You getting better with the. Hey, we need to comment on how this man did leveled up in his whole situation. You got me out here.
What you talking about, man?
No, you got the boom mic now. He elevated his mic coming in like this. I'm still on this table stand looking at real amateur hour, but it's okay. It's
Nah,
okay.
man. I had to go ahead and upgrade because this podcast means a lot to me. So I wanted to invest in it a
It
little
mean a
bit.
lot to me too, man. What you trying
No,
to say?
no, not
What you
not 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 saying
I
that it
care.
doesn't.
I care, people. I care. I don't know.
not saying that you don't, but I didn't like how it sounded on the first episode, and hopefully, this kind of resolved the issue. I'll go back and listen to this episode and make adjustments as needed. But I felt like I was taking orders from McDonald's on the first episode. Like, "Hey, all right, welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order?" Like, I sound super far back, and I did not like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, you sound good and you look good, man. And I definitely have to
Appreciate it. That's
upgrade.
that vitamin E.
You said what?
That's that
That's that
vitamin
vitamin
E.
E.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look good and you definitely you got your setup nice and tight. And I got to come out of the darkness. I feel like I'm out here with Bane operating in the darkness, man. So, anyways, man, let's get into this episode. Let's talk. I believe that today we are going to talk about a very serious situation that all barbers get into. All barbers get into this industry. And I mean, I remember the excitement that I got when I got my license. I remember the excitement that I had when I got into my first shop. And I remember the excitement that I had during my first week of getting money as a barber in
Hmm.
a very well established barber shop that allowed me to make some good money on my first week. That's not always normal, but they had a lot of walk-ins. And so I got paid really good. And I was like, okay, I like this. And as time went on, there's this thing that happens to all barbers for some reason, one way or another, but it's called barber burnout. It's a real thing. We all
Yeah.
have experienced it. We all have experienced it. And Delmar, I want to talk about that. I want to see, what do you have to say about barber burnout, because it's so real.
Um. So I know for me, man, I just recently came out of barber burnout, and if you were new in the barber industry, barber burnout doesn't just happen once. It happens quite often, just depending on how hard you push yourself. But I know when I first got into the industry, I was so determined to, build my clientele and make money. I didn't have a plan B. I didn't have a plan C or D. Like, this had to work for me. So with me having that energy, I would stay in the shop 10 plus hours a day. I would stay up looking at YouTube videos because I was that dedicated to getting better, perfecting my craft. And I remember when I became a shop owner, man, we would be in the shop 5 days a week, 8 to 10 hours plus. And you think 50, 55 hours, that's not too bad. But eventually you keep doing it over time, you're gonna get worn out. Your body gonna begin to break down. Mentally, you're gonna break down because it's a lot. It's more than just we standing up on our feet, flicking our wrists. Um, you have a lot of conversations throughout the day, so you're using your mental a lot to talk, to think, concentrate on what you're
Yeah.
doing, as well as moving your body, moving your feet. You putting hours on your feet. Hope y'all take care of your dogs, but
Man, by dogs, he means your feet.
your feet. But yeah,
Do you get pedicures? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
man, I need one. Right now I'm looking like Fred Flintstone.
Come on, man. We don't need the graphics.
I look like a chauffeur for Fred Flintstone. So, but but
Oh
now
man. Your wife
eight.
probably was like, "Yep."
Listen, people, take care of your feet. Take
Oh,
care of your feet. It's important. It'll help you have a long career. But
that's
so I want to fast forward because I feel like what I'm about to say is important for people to hear. So, um, you said something on the end of last episode, something that we both can relate to, and it is we both for those of you who don't know, we both lost our mom to cancer, different years. So I lost my mom last January of 2022 to cancer, and um mentally I was I can say I kind of was in shock. but it didn't hit me at right then in that moment. But as time went by last year, I still was working. I didn't take a break after she passed. I went to work like a few days later and kept going. And I would push myself. That was my way of me coping with what had just happened. Um, so I was still working a lot, started getting busy, just trying to find things to fill up my time. And you know, I ended up in the hospital in September of last year. So I also have sickle cell. I'm being vulnerable and putting myself out there. So I also
This is
have
a
sickle
safe
cell.
place, my brother. This is a safe place.
So I appreciate that, Brad. But yeah, I also have sickle cell. And for those of you who don't know, it can be very painful at times, especially if you're dehydrated, too cold, hot, you know, just look it up. So I ended up in the hospital because I was under a lot of stress. I felt myself getting depressed. I got out the hospital, started running hard again. I didn't learn my lesson. So just recently in April, I ended up in the hospital twice just because I'm burning myself out, not getting enough sleep. I got to put the fingers up. Not getting enough sleep for one.
Make sure you
Uh,
bring your hand up enough so we can see that it's not the middle finger. There you go.
thank, thanks for that eye.
Yeah.
But not getting enough sleep for one. Two, my diet was bad. I was working out, but when you work out, you still have to have a pretty decent diet.
Yeah.
And then three, just just mentally was dealing with a lot, and those things can burn you out. And so I ended up in the emergency room twice. Had to stay in the hospital for a couple of days, and when I got out, it was kind of eye opening to me what needed to be done. I needed to make some changes because if I keep burning myself out, keep trying to chase money, and by all means, we all need money. None of us here are rich. I don't believe. Maybe Brad is, but
No, no, I haven't made it yet. Not yet. I'm just trying though.
yeah, man, we all are trying to get
Yeah.
financial freedom, not rich.
Yeah. That's what I want is freedom.
Yeah, but of course, in doing that, you know, as barbers, we feel like we have to burn ourselves out. We put in a lot of man hours chasing a dollar, and then now I'm to the point where I'm trying to be creative and think of ways where I can make money, not having to put in a lot of man hours, behind the chair. Putting my body through what it goes through every day. You know, but I mean, burnout is real. You
Yeah.
can burn out mentally, you could burn out physically, you could burn out emotionally. And of course, when you burn out, you can't perform at your best. So I said all that to say and stress how important it is to take care of your body, how important it is to take care of your mind. Um, of course, take care of your feet if you're standing up all day. But it's
Yeah.
important, man. Like, get out, take a weekend off. Don't be afraid to miss money. Take a weekend off. You can do something in town, you can go out of town, but just to prioritize time for yourself. That's very vital to every human being. You have to learn to prioritize, some time for yourself, because if not, you end up burnt out, you end up depressed, you can end up in the hospital because of stress levels. So, I mean, people be smart, you know, get your money, but at the same time, also prioritize your health too. Health over
Yeah.
wealth.
And another angle, health over wealth is a major statement because it's so true. But another angle to barber burnout is something that I was able to experience, and it's where you really just want to give up barbering. You want to do
Mhm.
something else because it's not meeting the needs that you have. And back in, I mean, the first time I felt barber burnout was, I want to say it was in 2010. So I had been in the industry since 2007. Bought I had, got in the industry and I was working hard, and it's amazing how life outside of barbering can impact how you actually conduct yourself in your business.
Yeah.
And some things has shifted in my life at the end of 2009 that made me kind of just question my whole situation. Like everything was, I was like judging everything. Like, okay, well, who am I? What am I? How do I move on from this point? And I remember I was in the industry and cutting, and it just felt like I didn't even want to be there no more. Like every day was just a drag just to be there.
Yeah.
And I remember kind of thinking to myself, I was just like, you know what? I probably need to, because I was making good money, but for the bills and stuff that I had, it wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so it just always felt like I was trying to catch up like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to focus on trying to make like money other ways. I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to probably need to go back to school. I probably need to uh get a second job. I had knew people that was barbers that was working at FedEx or working at UPS overnight. And I was thinking I needed to do all of that. And I was in that state, I would say, man, for about a good year of just kind of like dragging along where
Mm-hmm.
you come to work and you play the part, but really in your heart, it's not, you're not there.
No.
And it just became, I just became stuck. That's all I could say. So what was your way that you got out of your barber burnout? Because for me, and like you said, it doesn't just happen once. Like it happens as you grow. It's like a plateau that we all hit where
Mm-hmm.
what we were doing before doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
That's just it's. I mean, it's you don't really want to say it like that,
Right.
but it's kind of the truth where
Yeah.
it's like what got you to this point is old news. And
Right.
even though you're doing the same things that got you to this point, you can feel you got to level up. You feel it, but you don't know what it is. You don't know what to do. And so I had gotten to that point, and then that's when I started to take a look at business, and I
Mm-hmm.
started to like see what I was doing was not just about being a barber. And I had to
Mm-hmm.
kind of like expose my brain to information that even didn't have anything to do with barber. And that was the first time that I realized that the education that I had acquired up until that point was all forced. Like
Mm-hmm.
school was forced on me, like going to high school, even barber college. I had to learn things that I didn't really want to know. But I had exhausted the information that I had learned because I had applied it all.
Right.
And I wasn't learning nothing new. Like I was just living life.
Yeah.
And I at that point, I think it was like in 2010, I started to realize I was like, oh, I have to bring in new information into my mind. Like I have to start learning other things so that I can have something to aspire towards. Cause if not, I'm gonna be living in this mundane circle. Just go to
Mm-hmm.
work, cut heads, go home, go to sleep, wake up, do it all again. And there was no shift, there's no break. And thankfully I have a relationship with church, right, where I
Mm-hmm.
can go to and get like some spiritual relief. But
Right.
that's still, if you're not, if everybody kind of goes to church or has something that they do,
Right.
but it takes, to me it takes more than just the just a hobby to kind of get you out of barber burnout. You really have to be growing in
Yeah.
something, right? Thankfully for me, it was church, and I had something to grow in outside of barbering. But man, like I remember that feeling so clear. It's so clear because I've experienced it multiple times, but the burnout was a lot less once I realized that's where I was at. I was like, oh man, I'm burnt out again. And
Mm-hmm.
I had to refresh my mind and apply new things into my mind so that I could learn and grow. Man, but what was it for you, if you could remember, and this just happened recently, but what was it for you that kind of helped you get out of barber burnout?
And so with this recent barber burnout, um, Man, I was in a funk for about 6, 7 months, and then one day I just decided, hey, look, I need a trip. We going out of town for the weekend. But it was more than just. It wasn't just about me leaving and going to another state to go enjoy myself. It was really just to take my mind off of everything and kind of reshift focus, kind of hit the reset button. And I care about. I definitely care about my career. Definitely care about the business. I care about the work that I do. But had to. I had to realize that there's other things that are more important, and for me that's church also. And you that's always been important to me, but sometimes you can you just get caught up in your career, get caught up in being an entrepreneur, and then you
Mhm.
start to slip behind on some of the things that are important to you. So I just had to kind of reshift focus and realize, okay, this is priority number one. Ain't no more second fiddle, third. This is priority number one.
Yeah.
Everything else falls in line behind that. And so, in doing that, I feel relieved. I feel a lot better because I know where my main focus is. But that's not to say that I can't still focus on my business too. It's really about having a work life balance. And it's still learning how to do that. I'm not saying that I've perfected it. I'm not nowhere near close to
Yeah.
mastering that, but it's something that um dedicating time to learn how to do is to manage my work life balance, because that's important. You can't be too much one way, you can't be too much the other way, because you'll get burnt out on either or.
On either or. Yeah. One thing that I've learned just going through some of the business club coaching that I go through is they talk about how at the end of the day, it's always about you. At
Hmm.
the end of the day, like you can't really manage time. You have to manage yourself within the constructs of time, right?
Hmm.
It's not about managing money. You have to manage yourself and your desires and what you're willing to use money for. It's not about balancing out work and life specifically. It's really managing yourself and how you put, like you said, priorities. Where do you put your priorities? Because wherever you put your priorities, that's exactly where you're going to put your time, your money, your
Hmm.
energy, your mental space, like all of that is going to go there. And so if you don't have your priorities right for you in your life, then you will definitely eventually burn yourself out because you won't understand the rhythm of your life. And some things change. Like I said, based on life outside of barbering, that might shift priorities in regards to what's real,
Hmm.
what takes priority, or what needs more of your time, more of your energy, more of your mind, because you're in a state in life outside of barbering. Like it ain't got nothing to do with you going to work. It has everything that happens outside of work, right?
Hmm.
And you got to commit these 8 to 10 hours a day, depending on what your schedule is, to barbering. But then after that, you got this other stuff you got to take care of, And I take a look at my life, and in 2014, like my whole life changed, right? Like I have finally recovered from the barber burnout of of before,
Hmm.
where I just felt like I needed to learn new things, and I started to kind of like adventure myself into business, and I started to be like, oh, cool, whatever. And then I got married. And when I got married, I also got the responsibility of taking care of my aunt.
Mm.
And my aunt is my aunt, not my wife's aunt, my aunt.
Right.
But in that state, in that same time period, my aunt had went through a situation where she her dementia started to show up, and it caused her to get evicted. And I had to step in to almost be a caretaker for her. And I'm not like ready for that. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like I wasn't
Yeah.
mentally prepared for that. I was about to live in like honeymoon life. Like I'm going off and just being happy being married.
Hmm.
And then I got this big old responsibility put on me. And so here I am. I'm cutting hair and going to work and thinking, how in the world? do I like I'm thinking, okay, my aunt, she's at a hotel right now because we haven't got her a new place to stay. Like where how am I going to take care of that? And I've got to spend 8 to 10 hours here, but at the drop of a hat, if something go down, I gotta leave.
Hmm.
Right. And it's like all of this stuff was on my mind like for a while. And eventually it hits barbering where I'm looking at my life and I'm like, I don't make enough. And typically
Hmm.
barber burnout comes from not making enough money for the life you're living.
Hmm.
Typically. Sometimes it could be energy based, but at the end of the day, it's almost like you're not making enough money for the energy you putting out.
Right.
Or you know what I mean? It's like it typically comes in the form of how much am I getting paid from the time that I'm putting in, and it don't feel right. Like I'm burnt out. Like I can't take more of this.
Get frustrated.
Yeah, you get frustrated and you feel like people don't appreciate you. You scared to raise your prices because you don't want to go up and lose people because
Mhm.
you need every person that's coming. But at the same point in time, you don't feel appreciated. You don't feel satisfied with the amount you're making because of the life you're living outside of barbering.
Mhm.
And it can really start to frustrate you. But all those different things that, like you were saying, D, that can impact you as a person, if you're not careful and you don't have your priorities straight, then you'll suffer burnout.
Mhm.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable to fight burnout if your priorities are not straight because your values will be in the wrong place, but your life will be telling you something different. And therefore it doesn't compute, and therefore you're frustrated. You'll be
Yep.
frustrated.
Yep. And then you start taking it out on, the people around you, just
Yeah,
because it's not even nothing that they're doing. It's just, you dealing with your own frustrations, but it's coming out the wrong way.
yeah. So from your experiences, what would you say, how would you prevent yourself from going through barber burnout at this point in your life?
Um, well, I can't speak for everybody else, but I would say for me, at least, I have to first acknowledge when it's happening and recognize it before it goes into full effect. And then to
Wait, that was deep, bro. How do you recognize it?
I would say that you just have to be self-aware. I mean, after going through it so many times, you kind of start to learn your patterns. You start to learn, your mood when you're getting this way, when you're leading into burnout. And like I said, that's self-awareness above everything.
But what are you saying you gotta be aware to? Because it's one thing to say personal awareness or self-awareness, but I can feel that you're specifically speaking about something. But for the viewers, like when you say, man, you got to be self-aware, what is in your brain when you're saying that? Like, what are they paying attention to?
Okay, so for me, when I get burnt out, I notice it starts to take it starts to take effect in the way I'm fading. Um,
Like your blends?
yeah. So like
Really?
for to the customer's eye, it may look fine, but me, I'm so specific about my work that I can tell when I'm okay, I'm getting into burnout mode. This ain't cool. And I'm gonna come back to that later because something always happens when I'm going into burnout and then when I come out of it. So I can tell that the quality of my work is not up to my standards. And I say my standards because, my clients, they look at they don't even have to look at the mirror anymore. They just know, hey, look, Prince D, he gonna do his thing. But for me, I know the look and feel of what I'm going for, and it doesn't come out right to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Two, my mood when I show up to work. Now I'm always a wash my face kind of guy, but man, if you dealing with something, it's still on the forefront of your mind, but now you're just trying to mask it because you're not trying to display that to your clients. You're not trying to display that to the people around you. So what I have to do is now that I recognize it, I sit back and I analyze what's going on and I try to make adjustments. which is maybe taking a break, maybe taking some time to rest on my off day, because you and I both know on Mondays we do not rest.
Yeah.
Is Monday is not an off day. Sunday is not an off day. Like we're doing so
Sunday.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
but, but I mean it's our lifestyle. So, just kind of adapt. You adapt and not complain. So you make adjustments. And I just try to do things that have put me in a better mindset. For me, it's listening to podcasts, or going to the gym and working out, something to help relieve what I'm dealing with on the inside. you know
Yeah.
Sometimes me and you chop it up. I know,
Yeah.
we got a lot closer during this pandemic. Before that, it had been, maybe a couple of years, couple of months before we had talked. But you got married, I got married, we both got busy.
You was just living a grown life and left your big brother alone, man.
No, that's not.
That's what that's what be
People,
happening when
people,
young
that's not.
people grow up.
Look,
They
listen
grow
to
up
me,
and they just
people.
forget about who was around, like who was
Li-
there. You
Listen
know
to
what I
me,
mean? They
people.
want to spread their wings. They want to
That
fly
that
and
ain't true.
just leave the nest completely and
That
forget everybody that was in the nest with them.
that ain't
You
true.
know, my
That's
lord.
that's what the young
I've been
kids
trying to
say.
get back in contact with him, man.
What
How
what the
long?
young kid what the young kids say? That's cap.
Nah, I'm just messing with you, man.
Nah, it's I always try to put myself in the mood to do better. Put myself in the mindset, I should say, not the mood. But
Yeah,
I always put myself in the mindset to do and be better. So when I come out of the burnout, man, it's like my skills go to a whole nother level. My brain is sharper. Like when I just came off this trip um to Austin, man, my brain was sharper. I
yeah,
feel better. It's like I needed that. I
yeah,
hadn't gone anywhere or done anything for myself in like 2 years, bro. Like,
yeah,
so, with all that piling up, you can tell how your mental begins to break down, and that's not good for you or the people around you.
yeah, yeah. It's not. I think for me, the way that I prepare myself on a almost on a daily basis, or it's just an approach of life at this point to keep because I understand where I get barber burnout at, and
Hmm.
that's when I don't have new information coming in. Like if I am operating and moving simply off of old information, I'm already knowing like, I'm about to burn out soon because I don't have nothing new to do.
You
You
get
know,
tired of the same old.
I get tired of the same old, and you know, man, like barbering itself, it is the same old. Like
Hmm.
you're not, especially if you got a lot of returning clientels, which I do. It's the same old. Like the only things that's different is the conversations that you may have throughout the weeks and days, but the activity is the same. Like you're cutting the same type of heads, the blends are the same, the like everything starts to kind of move in the same circle. And so for me, I have to outside of barbering learn how can I be growing as a person.
Hmm.
Self-development. I mean, it's like a trend now. Like everybody
Yeah.
talking about personal development, but I've been doing this. You know
Right.
what I mean? I've been doing personal development, mental development, thinking about how can I get to another level of barbering? How can I get to another level as Bradford? Like how can I get to another level in my life? How can I get to another level in so many aspects? Because I realized back in 2010, 2012, like around that time, that first time I got Barber Burnout, I had realized I was like, man, I don't have nothing new going on in my life.
Hmm.
Nothing. It's all the same thing. So for me, keeping things fresh in your life or really trying to always learn. Oh man, I remember I went to this one hair class when I was first trying to learn how to do men's hair replacements. And this guy, I'm not gonna drop no names because I don't be like name dropping everybody. But I went to this class and I remember this guy, he was saying, I think that we should make it mandatory that all barbers have continued education for them to keep going, for them to keep their license, they need to have continued education. I was in that class like, man, if you don't shut up, like, no, 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 because I'm thinking like I was done with school. That's how my
Mhm.
mindset was when I got into barbering. I was done with school. Like I was like, come on, man, don't be trying to force me to learn something.
Right.
Um, but now, man, I'm not gonna say I'm for the mandatory because everybody's not mature enough to appreciate education,
Right.
and therefore to force them into that, I think is a disservice to them as well as a disservice to whoever's doing the teaching. Because anytime you teach, you really want people to find value in what you're teaching them.
It's also a disservice to your clients too.
What you mean?
Well, my clients tell me all the time that man, they appreciate the effort that I put into this craft. They appreciate, they see that I'm always trying to
Oh,
learn. They see that I'm always on to something new. They see that I'm always trying to level up, trying to
yeah,
elevate. And I appreciate that feedback because it lets me know that my clients are paying attention to what
yeah,
I'm doing, and they're just as invested in me as I am in them because I'm investing in my career.
yeah. You invested in yourself and where you in
Mhm.
your business. You're doing what a lot of people wish they would do
Mhm.
in their life. And sometimes your clients will live vicariously through you. Like they will champion your growth
Mhm.
because they want to see somebody in their life succeed. So they'll root for you.
Right.
But yeah, man. So for me, it's about bringing new things into your life and always challenging yourself to grow. Like I wouldn't say that as a to keep your license, we need to make it mandatory, but for you as an individual, if you are feeling burnt out in whatever industry you're in, if you feel like you're not feeling that early drive that you used to have, that unction to get up and wake up and go do what you do,
Mhm.
when you get to that space, that's how I recognize burnout is when I'm waking up and it's like I'm not feeling this routine
Right.
that I got going. Then that's like, okay, I need to add some value in my life somewhere else to make what I do on a daily basis more valuable. And that's what has kind of helped me.
That's good, man. So, what would you speak to the young barbers? What advice would you give them to avoid the burnout? I mean, to be honest, is going to happen, but what are some things you can do as far as preventive maintenance to try to avoid the barber burnout?
For me, I would separate my personal life from barbering and understand that you have a business, right? Like barbering is a business. By just simply with the fact that you have your license, you are now an entrepreneur just by default. There's no questions asked about that. You don't have to take a class to understand that. Just the simple fact that you have a license, you receive payment in a form of a 1099 according to the IRS. You're not an employee. You are an independent contractor, like just by default. So when you realize that, then outside of the labor of your job, you have to, in my opinion, to avoid barber burnout, you have to go into your personal life. You got your barbering over here, and what you do as a business owner, and what you do as an entrepreneur, and you have your personal life. You have to develop your personal life.
Mm-hmm.
You have to develop your personal life in some way, your mind. You have to develop your ability to process information, your ability to think creatively, your ability to, and some of that personal development might apply to your business. It really
Mm-hmm.
might. It might be you taking a class on a new service. It might be you taking a class on marketing. It might be you taking a class on understanding business more. It might be you taking a class from another barber in the industry that you respect, and you're willing to invest in yourself enough to put new information in your mind so that you could achieve more. That's
Mm-hmm.
the whole, I think, biggest fight against burnout is your ability to expand the ways in which you can achieve more. Because if you are being successful in life as a general in general, and you can maintain your happiness, then to me that's what success is, because you can be trying to achieve so much that you burn out.
Mm-hmm.
But are you trying to achieve things that actually cause peace to be brought into your life? Are you trying to achieve more when it comes to your life being more stable? And if you're not, and you're just always chasing money, like Delmar was talking about earlier, then you are going to suffer burnout even more because you're going to spread yourself thin. But if you can separate those two things and then learn how to really provide value to who you are as an individual,
Mm-hmm.
then I think you can avoid barber burnout, or it won't impact you as hard.
Yep. To piggyback off of what you said, it made me think about how everybody now is chase the bag, chase the bag. Where I'm at now at this stage in my personal life as well as my career, I'm all about trying to attain knowledge so that I don't have to burn myself out trying to chase a bag.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's crazy when you say that, man, you had, unfortunately, this is the unfortunate side of barbering, is you have to be able to grow into having the option to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when you first are starting out, unfortunately, you do have to dedicate time.
Mm-hmm.
You have to just like suck it up, because for you to build a clientele and for you, and this is only if you really want to be self-sufficient as a barber.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to be self-sufficient as a barber. They don't mind. They feel like they're comfortable working two jobs, working, 20 hours a week, because
I'm
they
glad you
split in
said
their
that.
time between barbering, doing 12 hours, and then they go into another job or doing Uber or DoorDash on the side, and they they willing to do that, and they not willing to commit to the life of being a barber so that they can actually live off the life of being a barber.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do have to dedicate yourself in this industry to be able to have the options of choosing the hours that you want, to have
Yep.
the options of taking time off without feeling like the world is going to crash on you, with to have the option to simply say, you know what, I'm gonna take this day off. Like I'm gonna take this day off and take me and my wife is gonna go out. Me and my spouse is gonna go out. Whatever. You do have to grow into that. It's
Yeah.
not something that you can do right off the bat. You still trying to, and you just don't want to come to work, or you taking off early. All of this stuff. That's you gonna burn out simply because you gonna be broke.
Yeah.
Simply because you broke, because you're not able to live the life of being a barber, because you never gave the quality amount of life to being a barber. You didn't do it.
Right. Yep. And so getting into this career, I wasn't making enough money. So um, of course I wanted to hustle, but I also had real bills. So I worked an overnight job at Walmart stocking shelves. My shift was 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. So there were times where I would get off at 7 a.m., go home, shower, eat breakfast, go straight to the shop, and would work from 9 till about 8, basically my whole day gone. But I didn't have to do that alone. I knew that, okay, going into this, I don't want to continue to work two jobs. I witnessed my dad do that for 20 plus years. That's not the life I wanted for myself.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to work two jobs. So I put in the work, I hustled, and there was times where I wouldn't cut nobody at the shop. I would leave the shop, go pass out cards, or I would get around the other barbers while they had somebody in their chair and learn, from them. It might be, what type of cut they're doing. It might be, customer service or whatever. But I was always soaking up knowledge. I was always putting in the grind because I didn't no longer want to work two jobs longer than I had to. So when I finally got to the point where the every week consistently I was making the same thing I was making every 2 weeks from my overnight job, oh, that's a wrap. I'm done. Like I got it from here.
Yeah.
So I just, once I became a full time barber, because there's no such thing as a part time barber. I learned this from the guy who first shop I was in, Mr. Holmes. He's told me that the best ability is availability. And a lot of these new barbers are getting into the industry now. They don't want to be available. They want to come to work whenever they want to come to work. They want to leave whenever they want to leave. Nobody want to take walk-ins anymore, and that's all things that we did getting into the industry until we got to the point where, hey, look, I'm appointment only now because I have the demand to do so. It wasn't just
Yeah.
because I wanted to; I had the demand to do so, and we had the flexibility to create our own schedule.
Because you had
Whereas
the demand to do so.
because you had the demand to do so, so all of this is, basically what I'm saying is barbers get into the game and they want to do what the 10-year 15-year vets have been doing for forever, not realizing the amount of work they had to go into them creating this career path for me to be able to work strictly off of a booking site, to have my own hours, to be able to charge what I charge, to be able to do the services I do, is because I grinded out 12 plus hours, almost every day. Or,
Yeah.
not saying that you have to do that, but, for me, it was 10 to 12 hours a day, cutting, 20 plus hairs a day, um, you know, trying different services, taking walk ins, staying late, coming in early.
Yeah.
I did all those things, and it led to me being able to do what I'm doing now, which is now my schedule is Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 5. I have a 1 hour lunch every day, and I work 7 to 12 on Saturdays. And I have the option, if I want to take after hours. But now that I'm a family man, 5 o'clock hit, man, I'm gone. but but I have that option now because I put in the man hours to be able to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Yeah, man, you gotta be able to grow. And when you were saying that, I was just like, man, that's crazy. Like some people feel like they're experiencing burnout, but they not. They just lazy.
They lazy.
They just lazy. Like you're not experiencing burnout. You just don't want to work. Like
Man, look, you gotta work to burn out.
yeah, you gotta qualify for
Yeah,
burnout.
you
Like
gotta
even when you
qualify.
lifting weights, man, you gotta put in some work before your muscles give out. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But they just be like, they looking around and looking at the industry and looking at the highlight reels, like you was speaking about last episode, and saying, man, you know what? I don't want to be working 7 days a week. I'm out here trying to, I got stuff I got to do. Like, no, man, you got a business to build. You
Yep.
know what I mean? I keep hearing you use the word career. I just want to, I keep saying in my mind, stop saying that.
Yeah, you're right.
Stop saying
You're
that.
right.
Because we literally, unfortunately, don't have a career. Careers come with pay time off.
Yeah, no,
Career
we don't get that.
careers, yeah, we don't
We
get
don't get
that.
that.
Careers come with you being able to have benefits,
Yeah.
health insurance, like given to you. It just comes with the job. It's like,
Yeah,
hey,
no, we don't
what's my
get that.
benefits? You don't get that, man. And so I got a whole spiel on that though.
Oh
That's it.
yeah.
But it's the mental approach that a lot of barbers come into, is thinking that this is a career because they're using the word career as a choice or a direction. Like I'm going with
Right.
barbering, and they're using career in that space. But really, a career is a term used for employees of a company, and that's not what you are unless you are literally an employee of a company and you working in a supercuts or
Right.
something of that nature. Then you could probably try it, but you gonna burn out in that because you ain't gonna get your money's worth if
No,
you
and
in
I've
that
done
type of,
that. I know that
yeah,
firsthand. I've
yeah.
done that.
You gonna be cutting heads and they gonna be paying you 13 $14 an hour, charging 20 something dollars a cut, and you feel like you cool until you realize, like, hey, like if I made this money, I make double or triple the amount that I would make based on what I'm getting paid per hour.
Bro,
That's
short,
that's
short,
a
short
scam.
story right quick, man. So my first job in the barber industry, I worked at Smart Styles in Walmart. For those of you who don't know what Smart Styles
Is that
is,
like a
I
supercut?
made it's like a supercuts.
Okay.
Bro, I was getting paid like 12.50 an hour, and then they was forcing me to sell products and to do certain services. So I didn't have the option to turn people down. I had to take what I can get because that's how I made my money. So I was
Yeah.
doing services I didn't want to do. I was doing color services. I was doing roller sets. Man, I was doing
Oh
everything else
yeah.
stuff that I didn't want to do. Man, then when I got my check, I'm like, oh yeah, my check should be decent this week. I got it in. When I get my check, and okay, let's just use simple numbers. If I made $1,000, I brought home probably three
Like,
fifty
yep.
because you had to pay commission. The commission was like 60-40 split. 40 my way, 60 for the company. And then two, you got to pay Uncle Sam. They need their cut.
Yeah.
And then if you got benefits, that's coming out too. So I'm looking at, man, I just made this company $1,000 and I get $350. No way.
No way.
No way.
No
So
way.
yeah, don't do that.
But yeah, don't do that unless you're in that space and you're going in that space understanding the trade-off and you're going there trying to learn value. If you're trying
Mm-hmm.
to go in there and learn services, because that's one of the benefits of those
Mm-hmm.
spaces is that they mandatorily teach you skills.
Yep.
And if you are just in strictly in a typical barbershop or a typical salon and you have to fend for yourself right out the gate, it's a hard industry to grow in because a lot of people, unfortunately, is a dog eat dog world, and you got to survival. It's like survival of the fittest when you get into a when you get into this space. And if you don't get into a good shop or get into a good salon, you're gonna have to learn on your own. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to learn, you're gonna have to like sit there and watch people. And if they nice enough, they'll teach you what they doing. But if they not and they trying to get their space, then you're gonna be kind of left to YouTube to figure it out. And YouTube University, although it's is good, you really ain't getting no you'll never really know until you do. And
Yeah.
even when you do from YouTube, you can't really ask the questions you need to achieve what you saw on YouTube. You can't.
Right.
It's almost impossible. So it's you in a expedited version of uh do it yourself world. It's like you still
Yep.
doing it yourself, but you're in like a faster pace do it yourself program because you have like a small example on YouTube. But some people learn like that. That's not my strength. But
That's how I learned.
yeah, man.
Vic the barber. You know
Oh, that's
you
my classmate.
Yep, Victor Barber, Victor Moan. That's
Yeah.
who I was learning from on YouTube. And then later on came Captain Smash. But Victor Moan was the first person that I watched on YouTube, man. Was ain't he in San Jose or he was in San Jose or
Nah,
something
he
like
was
that?
in SF. He
Okay.
was in SF.
Okay.
Yeah, man, Victor Moon. I saw him at a barber convention not recently. I mean not too long ago, like maybe last year. And
Okay.
he's doing good, man. He's doing
Yeah.
good. But he man, I could hear it in his throat. He was experiencing barber burnout for sure.
Oh
He
yeah.
was he was done. He was pop locking somewhere else trying to do he was trying to dance. I was like, oh man, you gave up? He was just like, it's just not for me anymore.
Yeah.
He still barbers, but it's just not in his heart no more.
He don't even promote it no more.
Yeah, like he's done. So hey, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you
Right.
outgrow,
Yeah.
the industry that you're in. And sometimes it's not about outgrowing the industry, it's that your desires change.
Yeah.
And sometimes people's desires change, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So just because you experience barber burnout, it might be a sign of doing something new. But if your heart is in barbering and this is your business, this is what you want to make money off of when you do experience barber burnout. Hopefully, this episode was an episode in which you got some very, very good tips. And even if you're in a different industry and you have realized, like, man, like I get burnt out and I'm working at a nurse, I'm a nurse, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm at an accounting firm and I'm feeling burnt out. Hopefully, we gave you some information today from our own experiences that have benefited you and encouraged you to kind of add more information to your life so that you can grow, or being able to just learn how to get your priorities in order so that you can not be burnt out because you're putting too much value in something that doesn't add value to your life.
Mm-hmm.
So, Delmar, I think we here at a close, my friend. And what are some last words that you would like to send off to the viewers?
I would just say, to sum up this episode, make sure you're one taking care of yourself, and then two, to avoid burnout, like Brad said, make sure you're putting value into something that adds value to you. That's the ultimate thing. A lot of times we can place value in something that absolutely guarantees us no value. It doesn't make us better. It doesn't give us information, but we spend so much time doing it, and then we realize before it's too late that, man, this not even adding to me. Like, why am I even doing this? So, you know, just I would say, take care of yourself and
Yeah.
take care of your feet.
Yeah, take care of your feet. I am a person that does get pedicures I think on a monthly basis typically. So, yeah, dogs is important, shoes is important, and at the end of the day, your time and your energy is important, and the things that you have in life outside of barbering is even more so important. So, barbering should not be your end all be all your
Nope.
whole life. It's
Nope.
what you do to provide for your life.
Yep.
And I think that today's episode has elevated us, and I feel like I elevated Barber personally just by listening to your commentary and having this discussion. And kind of we got a little vulnerable here, and we got a little open. And so hopefully everybody can connect with that, because as we elevate, we expect you to elevate with us. And it's always time to level up. So have a good one.
It's the Prince. I'm out.
Stop recording, man.
I'm trying to find the button. There we go.